What's going on, everybody? We are back. Table Titans. I thought that video would be a little bit more upbeat to get you jacked up for tonight, but it's a little soft as as Rob Pico soft porn music. But either way, we are back. Table Titans. I'm actually in a little different setting tonight. Hopefully, you guys like it. This is actually my son's bedroom. So I got some old posters up here for him. This is actually a great gift my wife got me many years ago. It's actually, we give all the fighters t-shirts every show. Made this great blanket for me with all these old ones. Some real throwbacks. This one's actually, I think, might have been the first security shirt we ever did. I think this was actually our first ever shirt. Did a breast cancer shirt way back in the day. Man, so many old memories on this blanket. Not like that. Before you even get to it, but yeah, some cool ones. Back in the day, we used to just go with the old, just the logo, Boston Strong one. But either way, so yeah, I got that in there. Thanks for the setup. Yeah, good, not too bad setup. I finally, we moved to this new house probably about 8-9 months ago, and I think I finally just got all his posters up in his room. I'd show you around his room, but my father-in-law is here for the week, so he took over my office / guest bedroom. So I had to kind of improvise and come up with a new spot. Andy unfortunately had to work late, so Andy's got a new gig, so like sometimes his schedule is a little messed up. Sometimes they run late. He's doing some construction stuff, and tomorrow's supposed to be washed out, so he wasn't able to get up to meet me at Coops today. So you got me solo. I did send him the links. He calls in, but it's open to you guys. Like if anybody wants to call in and just kind of discuss what they like, from Cage Titan 71, good times. It was an amazing event. We're going to kind of talk about each and every one of the fights, but I'm not going to sit here for an hour and just yap. I mean, I probably could, but I really don't want to. So I'd love anybody that wants to call in. I'm going to throw it up here in the comments again. All you got to do is copy and paste this in. It's real simple into your browser, and it'll pull up your camera, invite you in. And I'd love to hear from you guys, tonight, especially. I just talk about Cage Titan 71, and then towards the end of the show, we're going to kind of change gears and start the focus on Cage Titan 72. I do got some fight announcements for Cage Titan 72 that I will talk about later. What else do I got? So actually big news this past week. So love the blanket. That I'm telling you, man, I was heartbroken. I was happy and heartbroken at the same time when she made this, because I thought she cut up all my shirts, and I was like, well, what are you doing? But anybody who knows me, I take 3 shirts back in the days. I take 3 of everyone, one that I'll never wear, and I have a box in my basement of every Cage Titans shirt that we've ever printed, unworn, going back to Cage Titans 1. So I take one that I'll never wear, one that I put in my what I call my regular rotation, which is my everyday wear, and one that goes into a gym rotation. So she luckily snagged my gym rotation one, so it wasn't anything that she took that I actually cried about originally. I was like, you took my shirt and cut them up. But no, it's pretty cool. I'm trying to see if I can find one that one of my favorites. But yeah, either way, there's so many good ones. Look at this. Here we go. Shout out to my wife, she's probably downstairs. She can hear me through the halls. Here we go. Merry Christmas, Michael. Love, Shelly. 2013. So she wasn't even my wife at that time. That's why I wifeyed her up. She took good care of me. Either way, that's that. But thank you for noticing. Driving home from Giannetti MMA class. Shout out to Joe Giannetti. Giannetti Martial Arts opened up this past weekend. He had his grand opening on Saturday. Looks like it was an amazing turnout. And so shout out to Joe Giannetti. I've talked about this so many times. I started Cage Titans in 2010, and it's incredible to see the evolution of Cage Titans from like guys that I used to train with when I was fighting to then they fought for me at Cage Titans. And then here they are years later, opening their own gyms and having their own students. It truly is great and kind of incredible to see the evolution of that and see the evolution of these fighters, like guys who started fighting me when they were, I see them at a gym at 17 years old when teammates are fighting. They're like, we're going to fight for you one day. And then seeing them fight for me one day and go out throughout their whole entire career. So shout out to Giannetti Martial Arts. He's in Whitman. So if you're in the Whitman area, I believe his focus is strictly on MMA. I'm not 100% sure, but he's got some great classes over there. He's been posting the schedule. As you know, Skeletor, he's always all over the internet. He's all over social media, so you can find his schedule pretty simple. What's up, Aaron Hughes? Aaron Hughes, I did get your message. So on the home front, not that you got, people don't care. I mean, whatever. The show goes on, but this past week is a little tough. We've had some sickness going through my family household. I was home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with one sick kid. Friday, the next one got it. So she started the beginning of her sickness. And as she's at the end of it now, my other one got it and he was home today from school sick. So it's been a little bit of toughness on that front, but we're getting through it. But Aaron, I did get your message. That's why I'm going with this. Did get your message. I am finishing up some matches for the pros, which I'll talk about. And you are on the list. So don't worry. Don't fret, my pet. I got you. What's up, Andrew Mack? What's going on? Trial by Combat. If you haven't already, Andrew Mack did an incredible job after Cage Titan 71, interviewing each and every fighter on the card. So all the winners on the card. So make sure you hit up Andrew Mack, Trial by Combat. Follow him and kind of see all the stuff from behind the scenes after each and every one of those fights. Yes, I do have 5 kids. Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun, my man. Shout out to El Gringo. Good luck to our good friend Ozzy Martin. He is competing this upcoming weekend. I appreciate we do our best there. So I do appreciate the kind words. But shout out to your son, Ozzy, who's competing this weekend. And we hope to have him home right after this one. I know he's going to Thailand, so maybe September we'll get him back. David Burke, what's going on? I'm still waiting for a confirmation, but I am trying to work on a fight for David Burke. It's been a long time since he's been back. I'm really excited to try to get him back in the fold. So David Burke, I don't have anything to announce tonight, but I will be coming up. I thought we were going to talk mostly about Cage Titan 71, so I'll get to that in a moment. Another thing that was in what's going on, Nicholas? Rob Pico is... Yeah, Rob Pico's fighting John Payne September 13th. So I'm just going to skip right over 72. I'm going right to 73. Rob Pico versus John Payne. It will be a fight that we're announcing well in advance. Gage Luby, I see the eyeballs. I put some fights out to Gage Luby, some of his teammates. So we're locking those in. Since I'm kind of on that topic. So shout out in current news, shout out to Chris Motino, who just signed with the UFC. And he is competing this upcoming weekend in the UFC. Well deserved to be back. After he got cut, he went on a 5-fight win streak, finishing everybody, and he finally got the call up. So shout out to Chris Motino. The coincident thing is, not only this is a bittersweet. So Chris, we hadn't announced it yet, but he actually was scheduled to headline this upcoming Cage Titan 72 on July 19th. He was slated to fight in the main event against the Ultimate Fighter winner, Jonathan Brookings. So that was our slated main event. Last week when we were going to go live on air was when we got tipped off that it should happen. So we canceled the live because we were going to dump the, we were going to announce the fight and everything. So we canceled the live. That's why you didn't see us last week, because we were like, shit, what are we going to do? The whole premise of the show. So it was bittersweet, but congratulations to the soulless one, Chris Motino. Awesome job getting on that Ultimate Fighter. So I'm sorry, not the Ultimate Fighter, getting back to the UFC. Well deserved. What else we got? Whitty's View, Fall River. What's going on? Fall River stand up. I'm guessing that's what he's going with. You're off the hook again. Andrew Mack is off the hook. So Andrew Mack said if no one would ever step up to fight John Payne, he was going to step up and do it. I think that's what it was. But Pico versus Payne, yes, love it. Absolutely. What else are we going with today? Let me just check my phone real quick. Maybe I might have some fights to announce. Anyways, you know what? We're just going to go fight announcements. So we told you kind of the bad. You know how I'd like to do it. We kind of give you some bad. I always like to pull it back with some good. Obviously, Chris Matino in the UFC, so no longer the main event. We did already announce the OG titles up for grabs. The OG of OGs, Johnny Cupcakes Campbell, will be competing against the OG champion, Kenny Champion. Super excited, super stoked for that fight. Kenny is an OG in every sense of the word. The guy's been fighting for well over 10, 12 years. So he's been around forever. And he also hits the age. He's 45 years old. So he hits the old guy part of the OG. So he's an original gangster and he's an old guy. And he holds the title. He was victorious over Greg Jones with that first round stoppage. Standing across from him when he defends that title on July 19th will be Johnny Cupcakes. Why I say he is the OG of the OGs. He competed at Cage Titans 1 back in 2010. He holds the record most amount of fights under the Cage Titans banner. He beats out the Barretts. He beats out Giannetti, Zach Tsab, who's right behind those guys. But yeah, he holds the record for the most amount of appearances. So he's kind of like the OG of Cage Titans. He's been around since day one. And those who know my story, back when I was fighting, I knew Johnny from our hockey days. And I kind of recruited him to kind of help me get ready for my fights when I was fighting well before he even he began to fight. So, I'm Kenny Champion is a dog, man. He just went 3 rounds with Jay Perrin, who was in the UFC, and just showed what his skill level is, competing against the next UFC fighter like Jay Perrin. So I'm pumped for that fight, but you already knew about that. Some fights you didn't know about. Thank you, Gage. That is going to be a banger of a fight. I definitely am excited about that one. I do have Andy in. Before I bring Andy in, I'm going to let him. We're going to bring him in to talk about Cage Titan 71. So fights I got for you for Cage Titan 72. So since I promised you I would do it, Cage Titan 72. We have an amazing 170-pound welterweight title fight in the amateur division. Gavin O'Connell will be taking on Jaden Curley. I'm beyond pumped for this. Gavin has been on an incredible streak. We saw him taking out Jordan Tavares 2 events ago. Then he went off to New York and got another finish out there. I think he's riding a 3-fight streak. The kid has looked unstoppable, coming in with a 5-2 record, taking on Jaden Curley. So people might be like, all right, I haven't seen Jaden for a little while, but trust me, when you hear the name, you get that tingle. You're like, oh shit, Jaden Curley, you're in for a fight, and you know what kind of competitor he is. He burst onto the scene a year and a half ago, rattled off a couple consecutive stoppage victories. Then he ran into Ozzy Martin for the 170-pound title fight, was in an absolute war with Ozzy. He came up short, but he didn't get right back in the cage. He actually had to go compete for his senior season at Johnson & Wales University, competing as a collegiate wrestler, where I think they won a national title. He's back. He's back in the gym, and he's ready to get right back in there and jump right into the fray. So I think this fight makes a ton of sense. You look at the history of this fight, this weight class as well. 3 years ago, we had Fight of the Year in Brody McDougal versus Ozzy Martin. Brody won, went pro. Ozzy was still standing there in a fight that won Fight of the Year. Was like, I'm still the best guy around here now that Brody went pro, and we immediately put Ozzy in the title fight against Jaden. Now Ozzy won that title, went pro, and Jaden's still there as one of the baddest motherfuckers at 170. So it just makes total sense to let him, though. He was in I think they won Fight of the Year actually last year. They did win Fight of the Year. So incredible. He was an incredible 2024 Fight of the Year. So he's going to slide right into that title fight against Gavin O'Connell. And then also breaking, Martin versus Curley was an electric fight. And before I bring Andy in, we'll definitely talk a little bit about that. And then finally, in my last one that I'll talk about is Josiah Fry. He bust onto the scene last event, taking this flyweight title fight on 4 days' notice, took out Stanislav Rakov, finished the fight in 10 seconds left in the 5th round. Like, he just, from opening bell to almost the final bell, 10 seconds left in the round, he battered up Stanislav and came out with victorious. He made an amateur debut on Sunday, took the fight with us on Monday, then competed on Saturday. And then the following week, he did a boxing match. He had 3 fights in 13 days. This kid's an absolute machine, 3-time national champion at Johnson & Wales. So returning Josiah Fry will be defending his title. I don't even think Andy knows this. Actually, I'm going to bring Andy in because he doesn't even know it yet. What's up, Andy?
What's up?
What's going on? Andy's looking like he's filming through a potato, but even Andy doesn't know this. So we've talked about, we had a whole graphic when Josiah won. Would it be Dalton English? Would it be Matt Martinez? Would it be Jack Barry? And drum roll, I might have a drum roll. Let me see if I got a drum roll area.
You got a drum roll thing already?
I might have a drum roll. Hold on. Let's see if I got it. I do. Ready? Can you hear it? Josiah Fry will be taking on none other than Jack motherfucking Barry.
It's just Jack fucking Barry. There's no mother.
No mother? Okay. So
Jack fucking Barry.
There you go. Jack fucking Barry. So Jack, I mean, talk about Josiah Fry's, quick rise to fame and notoriety. Jack Barry was another guy. He made his debut with us out of Ascension Athletics, and he was just like, we could tell right from the gate he was going to be somebody to keep an eye on. He comes to the weigh-ins, asks permission to be. He's like, I want my name to be fucking. And now he's like, if it can't be that, don't give me a nickname. Like, he was adamant on it. And when you come with that confidence, you got to kind of be like, okay, this kid's got something. Then you don't just become that confident, cocky guy overnight. Like, he came in full of confidence to actually put that limelight on himself, and he absolutely delivered. The fun part about this fight, to give you some background on what you may or may not know, Josiah Fry, that Sunday ASP card, that Josiah Fry. So we're going the 15th was a Sunday, so the week of the fight, our last event. May 15th, Josiah Fry competed on this ASAP fight card in his amateur debut. That same night or day, Jack Barry competed on that card. And they both looked at each other, and Richie Santiago was behind the scenes, and he was like, you guys want to fight at the next Cage Titans? And they both agreed. Little did Jack know that while that was going on, Josiah's coach was messaging me asking about taking the short notice fight against Stanislav. So by default, now Jack's fighting for the belt. It's just crazy how it all kind of churned out and everything kind of went like this. But yeah, Jack fucking Barry taking on Josiah King Fry for the flyweight title. What do you think of that, Andy?
Both guys undefeated, and both guys just savage, young, hungry competitors. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that this is one of those old school, original amateur title fights where the baddest is fighting the baddest, and you're getting them from all corners of New England facing off there. Both guys showing tremendous promise and well-rounded skill sets. I think it's a clash of styles that's going to make for a huge problem for each one to respectively solve. And yeah, just a fire flyweight title fight.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and there was a lot of guys that were kind of in the mix. We actually had NES 5-0 undefeated champ, getting some eyeballs in there. And for me, originally Dalton English, some people may or may not know as well. Like, we had something that was hosted that was cooking. Andrew Mack, who's actually in the comments right now, when he was interviewing Josiah Fry backstage after his title fight win, Dalton English was back there, and they actually had a stare down. And they were, we were thinking that was the direction we were going to go with that being the title fight. But then, like, the Monday morning quarterback comes up, and it's like, okay, well, we could go with Dalton English, who's undefeated. He's been away at college, so, wrestling in college, so we couldn't really fault him for not being really super active. But it was like a built-in storyline, 2 wrestlers, both really wanting it. Then you can't forget about Pikachu, who was in line for the title, but, came up with an injury. So that was another option. The NEF champ wanted a crack at it. And then I heard the story about, Barry and Fry kind of backstage at that show already kind of agreeing to fight. And then I just, looking at the style of Barry, I think he is every bit of a fucker like he wants to be. He swings those fists with insane amount of power. And I just think that this matchup will end up being super intriguing because can, Josiah get that takedown, or can Barry, stuff that takedown and be able to keep it up on the feet? It's going to be a very interesting fight.
Yeah. Both guys have the ability to finish each other. And like I said, they're both sub 25 years old. I think Jack Barry's not even old enough to drink, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah.
Stay in one spot, Andy. Jeez.
What was that?
I said stay in one spot.
He's violating all of my furniture, and I have to stop him. All right? I can't, leave him alone for 2 seconds before I hear some couch cushion in the other room, and just it's.
That's what happens when you have dogs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about announcing that fight for you guys. I think both these fights will get you guys talking and get you excited. I have a bunch of other ones that we're working on. Obviously Aaron Hughes was in the comments earlier. We're working on a fight for him. Sahib Jackson, Juice Box, I think is his nickname, or the Juice, might be just the Juice. I'm screwing all the nicknames up. And as I say to everybody, I'm not the ring announcer. That's Andy. I'm not the commentators. That's those guys. They get all that information. But Sahib Jackson will be making his Cage Titans debut.
Long awaited too. I've been dying to call Sahib Jackson fight. So
yeah, so we're excited about that.
Who's fighting? Did you announce his opponent?
No, I haven't announced any fights yet. So today I'm gonna besides those 2 amateur fights, I'm gonna kind of hold everything else in my back pocket.
Just teasing.
Yeah, we talked about Matino, how he was going to headline against Jonathan Brookins.
We're just teasing, but yeah.
Matino. So we kind of gave a shout out to that. But yeah, we have. I mean, listen, man, this card should be pretty stacked. We're restacking the deck a little bit with this card. You're gonna see some great amateur fights. You're gonna see some great professionals. Chris Snyder's actually returning this event.
I saw him in the crowd recently. So
yeah, he's in the DM. So Chris Snyder, probably up to some of these most. We have recency bias, but Chris Snyder versus Chris O'Brien was probably one of the biggest fights we ever did in lead up, and the way that the hall reacted to that fight. So it's great to see him.
And it's funny you mentioned that because, we're going to talk about Cage Titans 71 since we haven't caught up in a while. And, it's funny to look back at all the years of, just the buildup of that fight. And, it was always, Cage Titans was always excellent, even before I was working for y'all, about just promoting the fighters. But that was one of the ones where I feel like we did a stare down on steroids at the weigh-ins at Tavern on the Wharf, and that kind of got the ball rolling towards the style of which we've been building up the amateur and pro title fights as they've grown in magnitude. And that was the fight at the time. This is before we even had headsets. Like, you go back and watch the fight, and Richie and I are just screaming into the mic. You can't hear it. We can't hear ourselves just because of how blisteringly loud it was in there, of how electrifying a fight it was. And just from creation of that fight being matched on paper to it taking action and the way it delivered was one of the standalone, like, Mount Rushmore moments in the hall. And I feel like as the years have gone on, fights like that have kind of not been forgotten or fallen by the wayside, but it's tough to really pin what the loudest moment in that hall really was, because that might have been it. But Jack Congdon and Zach Davis, we had so many fights to talk about from 71, but that fight alone might have been the craziest shit I've seen.
I mean, listen, man, we're recency bias. If you guys are new to Cage Titans and you weren't around in 2018, do yourself a favor and go watch on our YouTube channel, Chris Snyder versus Chris O'Brien. It was insanity. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, when I look back over the years, I'm going to remember, I'm doing this 15 years. It's still one that just stands out. Like, that was a Barrett versus Giannetti, that there's very rare that's going to top that in anticipation. But like Snyder versus O'Brien was that for the amateur ranks. It was just incredible. So Chris Snyder will be back. I guess somebody kind of killed my hype. So I'm gonna give you a fight, John Keefe. Tom Santos is in the States. He has moved to the States. So he is actually the one that drew the straw to take on Saheeb Jackson in Saheeb Jackson's Cage Titans debut. I think this is a great fight because Saheeb's kind of one of those guys. I guess I wasn't ready to give a preview, but from my standpoint in the matchmaking kind of area, Saheeb's one of those guys with 3-0 record as a pro. He's kind of on that cusp, like, all right, where do we go? Kind of like Miguel when Miguel fought Tom Santos. Is Saheeb, really ready for that next level? And I think that, the level ups of Tom Santos kind of really gauges where that guy is. And I think that's why this fight's great for Saheeb. He's kind of coming out of the 3-0 of just fighting kind of guys. Now it's like, all right, let me fight a guy who has a little bit of, a veteran who has some experience, but not too much experience where he's kind of getting in too deep right out the gate. So I think this is a great measuring stick. So we can kind of see where Saheeb Jackson is. And as for Tom, we've talked about this the last few times with Tom. We kind of threw him in the deep end of the pool with Barrett and D-Sab. Then we brought him down to fight a guy like Miguel, and Miguel, holy shit, passed that fight with flying colors. So I think Tom is here to kind of gauge where Saheeb is, and if Saheeb passes this test, there's some great fights down the line for him. If he falls in short, there's always a comeback from that. As for Tom, Tom's kind of at a weird spot in his career. Now he's moving here from Brazil, so he lives here full time. He can really ratchet up the training, and he said it to us all the time. Like he feels like he's got a couple more good ones in him, and he's hungry for this. I know last fight he was pretty disappointed because his wife surprised him and flew in for the first time ever being in the States, and whether you agree or not, he felt that being a 20, 30, 40 fight veteran, he deserved to get put away, and he thought the fight was stopped a little early. So he's been hounding me to get back in there. So there you go. Saheeb Jackson versus Tom Santos making the return. So there you go. You didn't spoil it. It's okay. I love giving people a little bit of information on table.
Yeah, that's just to echo it. Yeah, this is a big challenging step for Saheeb in his career. And Tom Santos in his last fight against Miguel showed that he still got the heart. And he was getting clipped a lot early and still got up and was firing back. And you could tell he wants that Memorial Hall win so bad. And you look at his resume, and it's not changing. Saheeb is a savage who's on the up and up, and he's willing to take him on in his Cage Titans debut. So, yeah, they're going to meet in the middle. They're going to trade. And Tom Santos, 40-something fights into his career. He's 40 years old and still has that hunger and desire.
Yeah.
Moving to the States just shows a new level of commitment that he wants to stay ready, avoid travel woes and whatnot come fight week, and come into Plymouth hot.
Yeah, there you go. And just getting caught up in the comments. What's up? Kels Minor. Jordan Tavares will be on this card as well, kind of teasing you guys with some names. Ryan Genius is coming back. Jude Voss is coming back for some quick turnarounds. Who else we got? There's a couple of good. Joe Poirier. We're at Joe Poirier, man. This has been insane, man. I've had 5 guys that put their name in to take a fight at 125. Offer out Joe Poirier, and all of a sudden just crickets. It's been insane to me. But Joe Poirier, we have a guy locked up. We're not ready to announce it tonight, but we're just kind of putting the last kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But we have him locked in. He will be the new main event on this card now that Motino has moved on. And then also we're working on a Hillary challenge me. And I will tell you, it's been a challenge. She's put the call out to all 105ers in the world, United States, anywhere that would be willing to introduce the 105 atom weight title. She wants to be a champ. And I'll tell you this, it's been incredibly difficult, and we've reached out Great Britain. We've reached out to people from Japan, Brazil. Like we're literally looking international. Like there's not a lot of 105ers out there, and there's not a lot of 105ers that were willing to say yes. I've had probably 3, 4, 5 say no to her, even with the opportunity of fighting for a title. So she's put the challenge onto me. We've lightened the reins a little bit. She said, listen, if no 105er will take me, screw it. I'll defend my 115 title. So Hillary Rose will also be on this card. So yeah, Carter Whitty, man. Listen, have Brian hit me up. Brian from Regiment gave me 2 names already. Carter wasn't on there, but if he wants in, there's always room for Carter Whitty. Eric Zane will be back from Dexter's. It looks like Eric Wynn will be back. Tristan Woods is going to be back from Gorilla Crew. Next week's show, I'll be able to give it to you all. This week is really going to be the honing in on finalizing the poster design, finalizing all the matchups, and then getting you all the pros. Speaking of debuts for Cage Titans, Gerard St. Jean, he will be competing on this card, his first time ever. He's a 2-0 pro lightweight out of Nostos. Corey Sandhagen, speaking of Nostos, he was in town this past weekend, fresh off the announcement that he'll be next in line for Marab. And Corey Sandhagen, we're actually working on one of his star pupils, just cannot get a fight. He was undefeated as amateur, undefeated as pro. So I got put to task to see if I can maybe match up him for July 19th as well. Shout out to Andrew Valdina. He will be back in the booth at 72. I hadn't even told Andy that. But I assume when Valdina's not fighting, he's A1 in that booth. So we'll get Valdina back in there.
Absolutely.
Valdina, shout out to Valdina and the crew, him, Joe Poria, and all the fans that came out to Coops this past Saturday. We had the watch party at Coops Bar and Grill for UFC 316. A lot of fun, people taking photos from, photos with the champ. Shout out to Hillary Rose. Hillary Rose was mad at me. I keep talking. I love she keeps me honest. She's like, why didn't you ask me to come? And I'm like, it was kind of far, so I didn't even want to ask you because I didn't want to put you the challenge to have you drive over an hour to come. But now that I know she's interested, she's locked in for the June 28th card. So we will be doing a watch party with Hillary Rose on June 28th. But Valdina was there taking photos with the fans. And I wish she could remind me of the kid's name. But we had a fan that drove down, I think, from New Hampshire just to come to the watch party and hang out with Valdina and all the crew. He was only 17 years old. He had his mom drive him down from New Hampshire to come to Coops for the watch party with Andrew Valdina. If Valdina throws his name in the comments, I'd love to give the kid a shout out because the kid traveled so far. And I remember when he got there, every table's full. So he's like, can I sit at the bar? And I'm like, well, sure. Like, yeah, there's the only seats left at the bar. And he's like, well, I'm only 17. I'm like, okay, maybe you can't. And we end up getting him a table and he was there. And then we started talking. He was like, yeah, I'm a big fan.
Booster seat.
Yeah. He's John. There you go. Shout out to John Bilodeau. And shout out to John Bilodeau's mom because she's the one that had to drive him and hang out till after 1 o'clock in the morning watching the fights. But John Bilodeau made the travels all the way down to check out Valdina. And
that's awesome.
So shout out to him. It was a great time. And then June 28th, we'll have Hilly as the watch party. Valdina and the crew can still come too. Joe Poria was there. Gavin O'Connell, who we talked about earlier, who's fighting Ozzie Martin for the title fight. He was there. Good times. Andrew Mack, you're always there. We missed you, my man. Maybe I could have gave you some scoop. But either way, talking enough.
Who else stepped into Coops at a
I know you're usually there too, and usually Andy's got the guitar. So maybe on the 28th.
I'm booked at Main Street all June, so I'm there every Saturday. But maybe I'll be done early enough. I should be able to make the next one. I'll bring the dog with me.
There you go. So, anywho, we're here to talk about Cage Titans 71. I spent the first 20 minutes talking about everything except for Cage Titans 71. Andy, just right off the rip, off the top of your head, give me your top 3 moments from Cage Titans 71.
I've already talked about the Zach Davis and Jack Congdon fight. That's what a war. Very few words in the English dictionary give that fight the credit it deserves. It was deafening in there. Jack came out strong and was setting the pace early. Davis came out and completely shifted the momentum. He hit him with an elbow that stopped Jack in his tracks, and all of a sudden there was a river of blood just creasing down his face, and it was just a bloodbath from that point on. It was only a matter of time before someone went down, and it was Jack Congdon that landed that left hand from hell, stepping through and putting the finishing touches on in a brilliant killer instinct fashion to put Zach Davis away, who's a tough guy to put away. So that was seriously one of the craziest fights. Hats off to both of them. Nobody's going to forget that fight for a long time. And then just continuing on to the two title fights, history-making title fights. Hillary Rose and Ariana Melendez went back and forth for 5 rounds where it was just Yo, what did you do?
And he said he had to keep moving around because the dog kept eating his stuff. He must have ate something. Before we get back to him, I'm actually going to give a quick shout out. I had to give we gave a shout out to Bilodeau. I also want to give a shout out to Peter Murphy. Peter Murphy was at Coops. He won our pick'em contest. He won a perfect 5-0 on the night for the contest. So he won 2 free tickets to Cage Titan 72 on July 19th. So shout out to Peter Murphy who won the pick'em contest. I was filling time for you, Andy. Keep going with what you got.
Yeah, my dog just tried to get my steak off the stove. I'm ready to cook. So heard something. It's just, this is life now. I can't.
How does Lisa know that you have a steak?
I don't know. Maybe she saw it when I was walking around chasing the dog the first time. I have no idea. But
very perceptive, Lisa. She goes, "There goes Andy's steak."
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's still good. I don't think you got a hold of it. You shut up. But yeah, that was an instant classic. That was as close as it gets. I think that both of them were testing each other to the limits. It was an absolute chess match between the two of them, and all 5 rounds were so subjective between the leg kicks, the flurries that they were both landing, the control time versus the takedowns that Hillary was able to land. It was just everywhere the fight could go, it went, and it was a history-making fight just on paper. And then when it actually took place, you saw the caliber of fighters that the women's division have at the pinnacle. So hats off to Ariana Melendez and Hillary Rose for an instant classic, and big congrats to the first ever professional champion in a women's division in Hillary Rose. And then, yeah, I think Andrew Valdina cemented himself at the top, winning a very disciplined and strategic and well-executed game plan to be the first guy to beat Joe Panyfiel in Plymouth. And he had to dig deep in that 5th round because it took Panyfiel a while to kind of figure out the timing of those kicks and the distance and the geography of the fight. But when he did, he really took it to him and almost put Valdina away in the 5th. And Valdina had to survive and dig deep and find the heart. So that's what made that fight a classic in my eyes, is the discipline to shut down the crazy style that Panyfiel presents, and then the heart and gas tank to survive the 5th round to become the champion. I thought it was a great fight. And, there was just so many finishes throughout the fight card where the judges were barely needed, which is a testament to how everybody performed on Cage Titan 71. Everybody brought it, and we saw crazy knockouts, 6 submissions. I don't know if you want to go down we could go down the whole line if we want. It's been a while, but
I mean, listen, realistic, great top 3 moments. I mean, honestly, hard to argue with those moments. The 2 title fight victories, the Jack Congdon, it was like boom, 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 boom. So yeah, man, honestly, we're going to go over let's go over the undercard in a minute. Let me get caught up on the comments. Carter Whitty said, "What's up?"
Everybody's laughing at my steak.
Well, a lot of people laughing at your steak. I can't believe Lisa picked, like, you must have walked by your stove or something. How the hell she knew you were cooking a steak? It's wild.
Pretty much all I cook, though. I cook a lot of steaks.
So Aaron Hughes said it was the loudest he's ever heard it. Andrew Mack, I'll give you a pass. He was at a karate tournament, so he couldn't come up on Saturday. So what up, Carter, have somebody hit me up if you're in for this show. I'd love to get you back in there. I got a couple guys that maybe I could think about. Parmenter, I'm already on it. So if you missed the beginning of the show, Ryan, dude, first off, incredible debut. The way you and Kadu performed was insane. And, I know how much this meant to you. And I know that probably like the fact that you didn't get that victory in your debut was probably a little bit upsetting. But listen, man, you are definitely have such a bright future. Got a great team around you. You got a great set of skills. I tell the story of Rob Font. Rob Font lost his amateur debut at Cage Tights in 2011, and he's gone all the way on to compete in the top 5 of the UFC in the bantamweight division. Like, one fight doesn't define you. We talk about Carter Whitty, just somebody that's more recent in your, peer group. He started his career off 0-2, went on, competed for the Cage Tights amateur title, sad knockout of the years. So, like, one fight does not define you, man. You put your head down, you get back in that gym, and I know you're already back. So I got a name for you coming. That fight was chaos. Like that. Listen, I'm going to tell you, Nick just posted it earlier, the fucking suplex. Like, how you guys don't, like, listen, I wasn't a wrestler. I did fight, but I wasn't a wrestler. Like, the way they throw these guys is like, how you don't snap your neck as you're doing that flip back? Dude, it's insane. Insane amount of skill to throw another man like that.
Yeah, insane pace. Both guys looking like they've had way more than one amateur fight combined between the two of them. And yeah, very promising to bounce back for Parmenter, who showed big power and a complete skill set. Just ran into Kadu Lanes, who is just on a stride right now, back to basics, going 3-0 on the night. I think Jeff Perez, he told me several times that they have to party like 7-0 in the year, 8-0 in the year, something like that. They're on an absolute tear right now.
Yeah. Dude, they're crushing it.
That's the one that started it off for him. So,
dude, and there's no shame. Like, dude, he's jacked up in there. He's jacked up. I remember at the fight, he's like screaming at like the other guys. He was just so excited for his teammate. It's great to see. And I talked about it earlier, another evolution of a guy who was the Cage Tights amateur fighter his whole career, then went on to the pros, and here he is as a coach. Thank you for the props, Nick. I left that up because I actually wanted to bring this up. I appreciate the props on the card. And I more appreciate this, that it was one of the best nights of your life. Honestly, that's what we strive for. I say for the fighters, like, you're living your dream, but some of these fans, you're putting on such entertainment performances that we're getting comments like these are the best nights of their lives, and they're just observing you live your dream. So it really is special what we do inside the hall, that we all do, and everybody's part of it. So, thank you for the props, but, thank you to the fighters, and I'm glad we're just going to hope to keep put on best night of your life. But what I wanted to touch upon, why I left that up for a minute, is that incredibly, I think 11 out of 14 fights ended with a finish, which is an insane clip. We've had some big finish nights in the past, but I think in recent memory, 11 out of 14 is definitely one of the tops that I've seen recently.
Yeah, no doubt. There was just crazy pace, crazy volume throughout the card. There was something in the water that night, and the violence was just spectacular. It was awesome.
Listen, I say it all the time, actually. Nick posted something on our social media the other day talking about, like, what a venue would look like if we were in a 20,000 seat venue. And it's like, I cannot stress this enough. I get asked all the time, go to a different venue, go bigger, go this, go this. You're going to drag Cage Titans my carcass, out of Memorial Hall. I love that venue. It's second to none. There's something, you said it's something in the water. It's not something in the water. It's something in the air in that building that just makes you want to go out and perform, the energy. And I know that for a fact. When I fought my first fight, I fought at a place called the Braintree Sheraton, and it was an old hotel, and I had a great time. It was still incredible. My next fight, again, Braintree Sheridan. My last amateur fight was at this place called Plymouth Memorial Hall. And my coach said to me, there's something about this place. It's different. He's like, the fans can get blood splattered on them. It's like they're on top of you, like you're in an old Coliseum, like back in the day. You're looking around. And I was like, yeah, whatever. It's just another venue. Like, who cares? There is something about the place. Ever since we've been there in 2011, the way you walk out on the stage and you're kind of greeting your audience and looking around and they're all looking down at you. I'm getting fired up just talking about it. There's no place better than Memorial Hall and energy there on fight night. There's no other bullshit going on. There's no other slot machines in the back. And it's like, oh, let me go gamble because that's what I want to do because it's fun. And then I'll go check out my buddy for a little bit and watch his fight and then go back to doing socialization. There's no big concourses. So when fights are going on, you're hanging out, in the concourse doing whatever the hell, like at some of the big stadiums. You're forced to sit in your damn seat. And the way we pace the show, it's fight. And there's no big ups and downs. Like a fight's going on and you're all up here, and then we crash you down and have a big lull in between fights. And then you got to get jacked up again and come down. It's like when you come to Cage Steins, I don't know if this is a phrase, but it's like you're baselining up here. It's just like
it is a drug, man.
Yeah, it's like we bring you up.
Drug. Like
there's just this.
I don't do drugs. Period. Like my parents did enough in the 80s for me for a lifetime. I don't need to. But I stay up for like 3 days straight after a fight night or over the course of that weekend because of the drug of fight night. It is a crazy course of adrenaline that starts when I walk in till the fights are done. It's insane. Yeah, if I let him out of the crate, he's gonna violate my furniture and my steak again. So he's just gonna chill out for a little bit.
But yeah, man, it's insane. I see MGM. I see Andrew Mack talking about MGM Fenway. Possibility. I went to a show there, but I don't think it's really like Memorial Hall because if I remember, like the bottom floor, I don't know. I just didn't think it was like that. I could be totally wrong. I thought the bottom floor was just wide open, and it was like standing room if I remembered correctly, but I could be wrong. On said he met two guys at the open workouts. We were just walking by, and he told them about Cage Steins. Now they're diehards. Listen, man, I tell people all the time. I've been doing this for 15 plus years, and it's like. They're like, it's not my cup of tea. And I'm like, just come to one event. And that's all I ask. Come to one event, see what you think. And then usually they're like, holy shit. Because even if you're not a fight fan, you can feed off the passion and you can see how much hard work and dedication these guys put in. So I'm telling you, it's much more. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day. I was like, oh, man, you do fighting? Like, that's not my cup of tea. And I'm like, well, let me tell you why. It's cool. And why don't look at it as a fight like you're used to. It's the purest form of competition. It's one-on-one. There's no luck of the draw. There's none of that stuff. There's no team to blame it on. It's you versus another person. And it's such an incredible, like, at its purest form competition. If you're a diehard competitor, there's no better competition than this. And that's just my feeling on it. And
fighting is to quote Dana White, it's in our DNA. And I always look at it. I grew up playing all the sports, watching all the sports, a diehard. Yeah, I'd never miss a Patriots game. I'd be watching football all Sunday. Basketball, baseball, I'd be watching everything. But the way I look at it, whatever sport you're watching, you go to any stadium, Fenway, whatever sport it is, soccer, golf, for God's sake. Everybody that's watching, not everybody's paying attention to the sport that they're viewing. They're talking to their family, they're getting a hot dog, until someone charges the mound. Or until a couple of those basketball players start throwing hands at each other. Everyone stops what they're doing and pays attention to the athletes that are scrapping there. It gets everyone involved in the game. What's the biggest pop at a hockey game? When the gloves fall off. We skip the bullshit and get right to gladiator shit. It's not a sport. It's mixed martial arts. It's like going to a museum in a stadium, watching poetry in motion and people getting fucked up, which just takes into a primordial sense of just, it's as pure as it gets, period. There's no there's no way to explain it because it's primal. That's it. It's the same as eating. We've lost primordial sense because we've become so cushioned as a society where we go to the grocery store to pick up our food. We don't have to hunt with spears anymore. So Cage Titans takes care of all of that excitement of like survival instinct that we are void of.
I'm not going to touch upon that, but good job, Andy. I'll bring it back to Matt McIntyre. It is the greatest sport in the world. Matt, if you're back for this one, let me know. I'm going to hit up Brett tomorrow. Love to get you back. But yes, it is the greatest sport in the world. It is incredible. You know, I'll tell you this. If a soccer game breaks out, no one's watching. You know, if you're driving down the street and you see a soccer game going on, you're driving by. You're driving down the street and a fight breaks out, you're probably pulling over and you're rubbing neck and trying to watch the fight. So there's definitely
everyone films it. Everyone's pulling out their phone, filming a fight.
Oh man, there you go. Lisa said she's running to the bathroom and running back to her seat and decided we really want to get another drink. Well, there you go. Andrew Mack, we'll put that in the next promo video, my next Ron Perlman overview. We'll have Andy do it. Matt Mack, oh man, the ACL. I knew it was something going on. That sucks, man. Heal up quick. We'll get you back in there soon once you're all 100%. But anyway, so let's go back to Cage Titan 71 before we end the night. You know, I'll kind of quickly run over it and Andy, we're gonna do speed round, all right? So I'm gonna say a fight, and you're gonna 30-second break it down for me.
All right,
speed round.
Let me pull up the card.
No, I'm gonna say it. I want to go. I'm like, your dog biting you?
Yeah, he got me pretty good. He's all right. He's just
don't listen to Lisa. Put the dog in the crate.
No, he likes attention. He's fine.
There you go,
buddy.
All right, you ready for rapid fire?
Go for it.
All right. First fight of the night, double debut. Connor Safford out of Triforce taking on Trevor Sullivan out of Invictus Training Center.
Yeah, that was one that was a barn burner out the gate. And Safford getting the third round finish after both guys showing why they were prepared to make their debut. I think Invictus, that was their first ever competitor at Cage Titans, if I don't remember correctly. So, Trevor Sullivan really put a hell of a showcase out, but Connor Safford with the third round submission finish. I think it was a rear naked choke, if I remember off the top of my head.
There you go. 30 seconds up, dude. That was a great shot of you and the dog side by side until it went for your face. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So those who don't know, Andy rescued this dog, so he's still trying to train it.
He's still a puppy too, so he's just
there you go.
He's not even a year old.
Next up, we had two guys fighting for their first victories. Both win here. Connor Holt out of Savory BJJ taking on Jared Sweet out of Dex's MMA. What'd you think?
Yeah, and what a war it was for when it lasted. These guys stood in the phone booth. They're both rangy lightweights, but they decided to, just stand and trade until someone went down. And Connor Holt landed that beautiful Suzy Q punch just right down the pipe. And that was, I think, the third knockdown. And the ref jumped in and saved Jared Sweet from any further damage. But, man, both guys came prepared to throw down, and somebody was getting their first win. They both fought like they were hungry for that first win. And big congrats to Connor Holt with the glorious knockout punch.
Unbelievable fight. Yes, absolutely. Next up, we had the debuting out of Mom's Basement, Connor Matthews, Jim Jude Voss taking on Brett O'Terry, the Labs product, Hunter Davis in his return.
Yeah, another one. Back and forth war. Well, both guys were tested in their mettle, and Voss, young buck at a Mom's Basement. I think this was Connor Matthews' first protege fighting directly out of his gym. And, they had a bunch of people that cross-trained between that crew there, and he started it off really nicely for that squad, getting the
One of
decision.
our 3 decisions.
Yeah, that was one of the 3 that needed the scorecards, and it was definitely back and forth. Hunter Davis is a tough, durable kid who has big power in the shots. He had Voss hurt a couple of times, so looking forward to seeing both of them back in there.
Well, Jude Voss will be returning at Cage Titan 72, so he'll have that opportunity. And I got to reach out to Brett. I haven't reached out to Brett yet today, so I'll see if he will be back. All right, our 4th fight of the night. We're going to quick 30 seconds breakdown. Omar Guerrero out of North Shore Muay Thai in Nostos, taking on the debuting Thomas Davis out of Mohawk Martial Art. Nick Fontecchio's gym.
Yeah, and another one that was, as long as it lasted, high-paced fight where, Mohawk Martial Arts, they've been bringing savages with bad intentions, and Thomas Davis was no different. He went in against a very experienced Omar Guerrero, who's already had 20 minutes of cage time already, and talk about somebody who went in hungry for that first win. He was so on point. His ability to control the distance and slip and rip and throw his counters in perfect timing. He had Thomas Davis hurt to the body a few times. Then when he went upstairs with the head kick, I saw Davis's eyes roll in the back of his head, and I thought it was a great stoppage at that level, at that point in time, because he was out on his feet. He was upset that it got stopped and he didn't get to go down, but I think that the cage kept him up, honestly, if I'm remembering just how perfect of a head kick was. It reminded me of Josh Thompson knocking out Nate Diaz with the head kick, where he was out on his feet and the corner ended up throwing the towel in. It was kind of like that style. It was one of those weird ones, but I'm looking forward to seeing Thomas Davis back, because he disputed the stoppage right out the gate, and Omar Guerrero, hungry for that first win, got it against a tough kid in spectacular fashion. That was a hell of a head kick.
That was much more than 30 seconds, Andy.
Yeah, I know. Whoops.
All right, next up, Ryan Genus out of Hook and Roll Combat Sports, taking on Brian Daviage out of Daniel Gracie Plymouth. Speaking of head kicks.
Well, repeat everything I just said about the glorious head kick, because that's all it was. This fight didn't even last 30 seconds. It barely did. It was over pretty quickly in the first round, and things were just getting going. And man, Genus with the blistering head kick that toppled Daviage right on impact. Crazy finish.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, what I liked about that fight, again, I'll just interject real quick on it, give you 10 seconds. I loved how that Genus went to the body, and then he kind of set up that question mark kick to go to the head. It just showed a lot of high IQ for a guy who was making his debut, and it really spoke to me about Hook and Roll and what they're going to be in the future. They're just opening their gym, Pete Luciani. I think it just showed some great IQ in there to be able to set that kick up to the body, then eventually go to the head in such a short period of time. And you don't see that a lot of times from a guy that's making his debut. Moving on, Ryan Parmenter out of Fighting Arts and Fitness. We talked about it a little bit earlier. He took on Kadu Lanes from Back to Basics. Man, what a barn burner this was for the.
Just to touch back on it, Parmenter showing what he was ready for that debut. Big speed, big wrestling, complete game. We mentioned that 5-point throw, that suplex. You don't see that every day on the local scene, especially in an amateur fight when it's your debut. And Kadu Lanes, at a certain point in that fight, he looked like a little mini Tony Ferguson in there. He was eating shots, walking down, and going for the finish with like this deranged look in his face. It was quite a spectacle to see. So I think Kadu Lanes is a bad dude at 145, and kickstarted the night off nicely for Back to Basics.
There we go. Sliding right into the number 7 spot, we had the Crab King himself, Alex Schlink out of Watch City MMA, taking on Mr. Award, Carter Woody out of Regiment Training Center.
Yeah, another barn burner for as long as it lasted. This one went into the 3rd round, and at the end of the 2nd round, Carter Woody was just hitting a stride. Alex Schlink is durable. What? Everything's okay. You're fine. You have nothing to worry about. What are you getting? I know. You got to chill, quiet. But yeah, Alex Slink was chasing Carter down the whole fight. They were using all corners of that cage, and once Carter hit his stride in the end of the second round, he was just on fire, couldn't miss, and Slink did everything he could to stay in the fight. I love the stoppage in the third round. Had that been stopped like that in the first round, I say let him go on. But in the third round, I thought it was a good stoppage for an amateur fight because Carter just it got to a certain point in the fight where he just hit a stride, hit a zone, and couldn't miss. And everything was landing with big pop.
Beautifully captured by our social media team. When Whitty went like this as he was walking him down, that was when he turned the mode on. He just was hitting every strike he threw. He was in that zone. So shout out to him. And also I hit up Watch City. We want the Crab King back. So let's get him back. Next up, Georgia was the big winner this past weekend in the UFC with Merab defending his title and winning. We had Georgia in the building. Mamuka Kikazalashvili making his debut, and Georgia came out in strides for their man. He took on Eric Wynn. An incredible fight, but Eric Wynn was able to silence the Georgian crowd. But what did you think of the fight?
Yeah, I thought that was another one that was full of pop in the crowd. Eric Wynn's on a stride right now at lightweight and had a ton of promise already in his 3 fights before this. So the fact that Mamuka Kikazalashvili was willing to take on Eric Wynn in his debut just spoke volumes to the challenges he's willing to accept. And man, he brought it. Like it was you could see the striking difference in Wynn versus Mamuka at a certain point in the fight, but Mamuka had the heart of a savage and just went for that Darce choke that I thought Wynn was gasping for air at a certain point. It looked like he was about to pull off the submission. So both guys truly had to dig deep in that fight. And Eric Wynn just keeping the ball rolling for himself and for Back to Basics with that stoppage that he was able to acquire. The killer instinct on Eric Wynn is
that Darce choke. Back to that Darce choke. A couple people came up to me, settle it for me from what you saw. Was there a tap or no tap?
I didn't see a tap.
Okay, because a couple people
I didn't see a tap. If anything, I saw a thumbs up.
I did see it. We actually, our social media team caught the thumbs up because we actually had that in the post. He was given a thumbs up when he was in the Darce. But a couple people said that they saw a tap. They're like, how the hell did the ref miss a tap? And they were kind of yelling in the back. So
and I think a lot of times, and you see it even like in the UFC, hey, get in here, get over here. You ain't going over to that steak. I'm gonna cook it after this. But you're not eating that steak off the stove again. I made that mistake once already. It's not happening. That's it. But yeah, you know it when you're grappling and somebody's got you in that Darce anaconda. Sometimes you got to put your hand on the hip to try to create space. So I think that in that scramble where he was trying to do the appropriate defense, you don't have eyes really. You're getting a feel for it, and you're trying to brace to create space in your shoulder to keep blood flowing to your head. So if anything, maybe he was kind of flailing, looking for that brace, and it might have looked like a tap from a certain angle, but the referee was on top of it. He saw the thumbs up. He saw that he was fighting out of the choke. And I think that has happened enough times in the thousands and thousands of fights I've watched across all levels where that almost tap happens in that kind of front choke scramble when you're putting hands on hips or whatnot. So yeah, I think the referee showed good vision and not thinking there was a tap because he was able to escape and win the fight.
There you go. Much more than 30 seconds on that one, too. But we're getting to our last one.
Okay. Don't act like you ain't guilty of that shit from too. I'm also dealing with a crazy.
No, I'm laughing at us because whenever we try to be quick, we end up. That's why I was joking when I'm like, all right, let's keep it 30 seconds. That's like me when I'm like, we're going to do a 30-minute show tonight, and it's an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But our last amateur fight on the undercard, King Josiah Fry taking on Stanislav Rakov. Man, we talked about this earlier in the night. Stanislav, balls of steel for stepping up, taking on 3-time national collegiate champion and Josiah Fry on 4 days' notice. And also balls of steel on Josiah taking that fight.
Fry taking the fight against someone with 8 amateur fights already and only a week after making his debut. So both guys, balls of steel award for this title fight, and the short notice nature that it came to fruition. And when it did happen, Josiah Fry really showed the level of his wrestling pedigree and how it translates to MMA. It being only his second amateur fight, he stuck to his roots, and his roots were more than enough to really to pitch a shutout through 5 rounds. Will you chill? Don't eat my laptop either.
Well, there you go. I mean,
so
Josiah.
He didn't need anything much more than his roots. His wrestling was able to control the whole fight until he got the very late finish at the end of the 5th.
Jordan, we talked about you earlier. We got your name. We're matching up the amateurs this week, so you will have your next opponent for you. We're excited to have you back. But yeah, that wraps up the undercard. Josiah Fry, as we mentioned earlier, will be taking on Jack fucking Barry, the Cage Titans flyweight title that he just earned at Cage Titans 71. Getting right back to it, defending at 72 and taking on Jack fucking Barry. We also talked about Jaden Curley taking on Evan O'Connell for the welterweight title at Cage Titans 72. We talked about the 3 pro fights at the top of the card. We got 2 more fights to talk about before we call it a night. Our first fight after intermission, first fight on the main card, Jacobo Pito taking on Cole Cameron. Holy shit. What can we say that hasn't already been shown? This video is blown up, almost 2 million views in only 2 weeks. The first week it was out. I mean, incredible stoppage by Jacobo. What'd you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not every day you see somebody get flatlined like that with the short elbows that Jacobo put on him. Cole Cameron's a durable dude, and I think this fight was catch weight 140, upper weight,
yes,
a little bit late notice. So I thought Cole Cameron looked like he was probably.
Well, it was up a weight class because of it was scheduled at 35, but it went up a weight class because Cole, in his travels had a little difficulty with the weight. So that was
he came in looking like he was the bigger guy, and the fact that Jacobo, the placement, the timing, the frame, it was impeccable. And then to not miss the follow-ups at all 5 of them, it was just lightning fast, picture perfect KO, and just deserving of all the praise it's getting.
There you go, Andy. Trying to pull up the video of the finish. If you don't follow us already on Instagram, what are you waiting for? Get on over to our Instagram and follow us. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, Jacobo made his own cut. That was pretty cool. Let's see if I can get Jacobo's cut. There we go.
Just chill.
Here's a little. Boom. Whew. That's a cold ass walk too. It walks away. Insane.
Ice cold indeed. But to be fair, after that ice cold walk, he came up to the commentary booth. Like, did I hit him too many times? And it's like, no, dude, you did your job. You hit the little ref stops. And yeah. So class act always for Jacobo Pito. He did feel bad for knocking his opponent out, but that's part of the job.
Yeah, man. Honestly, and Jacobo is such a genuinely good guy too. So that's not. There was no ill intent there.
No. He's just that talented and skilled of a striker. He really is. If people forgot, people remember now.
I was talking about it earlier. I should have brought this stuff up earlier when we were talking about the fight. Here's that suplex. Well, there's the first takedown.
Oh yeah. All right, we could have been doing this the whole time, and
I know. Look at this. Oh,
we're gonna go for another hour.
No, I'm not gonna listen. That's what I'm saying, guys. Look at there's no one better with the social media. That's a humble brag, but our social media is crushing it. Go watch any of these videos. You can kind of get caught up. I wish I remembered. I would have been playing it in the background as we were talking about each fight. This is
yet.
Yeah, but either way, shout out to Jacobo Pito. Great fight, great performance, and we had a little bit of fun with it. And then our last fight we haven't talked about was our second fight on the main card. Somebody battled the undefeated. Someone had to go. Nick Eldridge, Phil Lucino. What'd you think?
Yeah. it was like you said, somebody's all had to go. Both guys 3-0, taking that high stakes matchup at this stage in their career. And Bambino was able to implement the wrestling control, but once Nick Eldridge was able to scoop the reversal and take the back, he just had that relentless back pressure. And as Bambino was trying to get back up to his feet, he was able to secure the first round standing rear naked choke finish, stay 4-0 at bantamweight, and we've got a new contender on our hands in Nick Eldridge.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
Phil Bambino Lucino always a staple in that crowd. You know, he's going to be bouncing back. He's always training, putting the work in at Sit Your Tongue, and I'm sure he's going to learn from these lessons and bounce back. But Eldridge cemented himself as the top contender in that weight class, remaining undefeated.
Absolutely. We had a little bit of fun with it, Andy. I'm going to get your opinions. You don't have to give them if you don't want to, but some fun we had on social media post-fight. You know, we talked about it earlier. Andrew Valdina, what's next to him? Contender Series, Nick Eldridge, or another competitor?
I'm sure that there's plenty of contenders for him at 135. Nick Eldridge certainly does fit the bill. 4-0 after winning against an undefeated Phil Lucino certainly throws him into the mix on the upper echelon of that division, but 135 is stacked, so you could throw any name in that question mark. It could be a valid fight, but also with where he's at right now and with the style of which he was able to ascertain a win over Pena Fiel, I wouldn't be surprised if he's ready for a contender series fight either with this stage that he's at in his career. He's looking on a new level right now. He's in his prime. He's got a local belt, and he's got some incredible wins under his resume. So he's right up there in top prospect across all weight classes now.
Listen, man, you know, the target's definitely on his back now. So whatever he does next will be very interesting. Speaking of which, we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier. You know, we got Hillary Rose. She's trying to be the double champs, wants me to introduce the atom weight title. I'm struggling with the atom weights. Even the girl she called out in the post-fight interview, I thought that was a done deal, and that's not going to happen now. But she's looking to go double champ. She said at this point she'll defend her strawweight title. A lot of good things happen for Hillary Rose. We're working on July 19th. We already answered this question. Josiah Fry, the man who got the call, Jack fucking Barry, will be taking on Josiah Fry. So we already did that. Jack Congdon, Rocky IV remake. He'd be the perfect Drago, but he has an American accent. But what do you think for Jack? What's left to prove for Jack around here?
Not much. I mean, again, it's a stacked weight class, so insert anybody. I'm sure Jack Congdon will take all comers, but yeah, that fight right there, if that doesn't excite the brass to give him a shot to fight in front of Dana, he's certainly fits the stylistic bill of what they're looking for at welterweight. So I hope he gets his well-deserved shot. I think that's what's next for him on the radar. Yeah,
I just highlighted this comment because, listen, man, I'd love to see Dana White's contender series for Jack. I'd love to see UFC. It was my idea for the Rocky IV, so I'm a little biased to that decision. But Earthquake's in the comments, and that would be a banger of fight if Jack's still around. So Earthquake, Aaron Trussell would be a fun one. Yeah, next up, we got Nick Eldridge. We talked about Valdina, maybe Jacobo, maybe somebody else.
Ooh, see that stat right there. I like the Jacobo and Eldridge fight too, man. That's a real big fight. Now that I'm just thinking stylistically for both of them, I think that
Jacobo, reality TV, Joe Penafiel, or Andrew Valdina. Some fun ones there for Jacobo. Jacobo is definitely a personality.
Yeah, you could throw a camera and follow him around. I'm sure it'd be some hits. No question about that. But yeah, after that knockout, Jacobo could be ready for anybody at the top of the division.
Come on. I'm just going through the social media. I should have, like I said, I should have done it earlier. Shout out to the best celebration tonight. Eric Wynn taking a shoey of the Gladiator energy drink, our new sponsor. Great celebration. Also a good opportunity. You know, a lot of people say, you know, Cage Titans, we got some great social media. Good opportunity to give a shout out to some of the people behind the lens. You can't even see his face, but Liam Crowley, he's our above the cage photographer. Go give him a follow, Liam Crowley Photo. You know, so he's our Cage Titans above the cage photographer. I lost it. I won't bore you guys, but I think it's worth giving these guys a shout out because they do some incredible work. The person who got this photo is our man behind the phone and the camera. You see him up here, Xavier Sandoval Photography. He's lower cage side. And then he got this other great photo of Nick. Obviously, we all know Nick. He's been with us for the last 5 years. So Nick Films. And then we have Martina I think it's MRG Photography for Martina Rose. So always some good photographers. Make sure you go give them a follow. Oh, Jacob. Oh, yeah, JBT. Where is he? I'm trying to pull up everybody's thing. Thank you for reminding me. I was One Lens, another one. One Lens, incredible shots. And she like does it through the cage and she's able to get all this stuff. So give her a follow. And she drives all the way up from Connecticut to do this. So she's incredible. Man, some good people. Who's this one? Boston Strangler.
Like the team. Nope.
Listen, yeah, exactly. It's like the team. There's a lot of people behind the lenses. So make sure you go give them a follow. Here's Jacob. Let's give him Jacob. He's been with us 3 or 4 years now as well. Photos by JBT. And he does a great job doing all our photography. So he's also lower cage side photos. So yeah, anyways. And then Martina, I can't find Martina's stuff. Let me see if this is her. No. We post a lot. If you can't tell, we post a lot. So yeah, either way, make sure you go follow all our social media people and all our photo people. And then my last thing I'm going to give you, this was something fun we did last week. Andy, give me your team, my man.
Oh, geez.
15 bucks.
Chris Latino as many times as possible. That's it.
Well, you got
my dog's about to take a shit on my couch. We got to wrap this up.
Oh, man. That's
he
awesome.
only gets nippy like this if he's about to poop, so hurry up.
Well, anyways, there you go. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Honestly, great show. We'll be back in studio together next Monday. Actually, let me double check my schedule because it's the end of the school year. So there's always kind of stuff going on. Actually, next Monday, I got 5th grade fun day, but that's during the day. Oh, next Monday, I got pre-K graduation, 6:30 to 7. That's for my 5-year-old. So I'll probably do the show from home and maybe get Andy to call in. Maybe gives you a week, Andy, to get a nice little studio area set up for yourself.
Yeah. I'll figure out. Yeah. Studio.
There you go. Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
There's no studio over here.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cage Titans 71's in the books. That's a wrap. Cage Titans 72 coming up on July 19th. We dropped a couple of amateur title fights. We got a bunch of fights that we're going to announce next week with the photographer. With the poster and all that great stuff. So tune in next week, and we will talk to you then.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. Cheers. Let me get the video to drop. Later, Anne-Marie. And we out. Bye.